Now, I mentioned that our dear reader, he who walks on water, B. Hussein Obama, praise be his name, kids, that he is out in Honolulu, Hawaii, right? And he's out there talking about how we're too lazy to get business. And he was also yucking it up about his place of birth.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me here. Thanks to all the business leaders who are participating. I understand that there have been some terrific conversations over the last couple of days. I want to thank our Hawaiian host for the great hospitality. As many of you know, this is my birthplace. I know that was contested for a while, but I can actually show you the hospital if you want to go down there.
Oh, yeah, sure you can. Barack Obama from yesterday in Honolulu offering to show which hospital he was born in. Of course, those of you who follow this issue closely and listened to my interview with Jerome Corsi, Dr. Jerome Corsi, and have read his book, Where's the Birth Certificate, know that on different occasions, Obama and his flacks have claimed that he's born in two different hospitals in Honolulu. So I assume it must be the Kapiolani one, the second one that he claimed to be born in. But it doesn't matter because, as I've said before many times, they try to Alinsky me and accuse me of being a birther. I'm not a birther. I'm an Article 2er. And so is my very special guest from the Liberty Legal Foundation, my friend Van Irion. Hello, Van. How are you?
Hi, Terry. I'm doing great.
Welcome to the program. It's so, I came upon your site, libertylegalfoundation.org. I encourage everyone to go there. And I went there and I signed up to support your litigation. You have a lot of, obviously, a lot of cases. Your overriding mission, of course, is to return the country to constitutional government. And that is something that everyone here on the Teri O'Brien Show, most of our listeners are extremely committed to that. So if you're committed to that, guys, and you want to help someone who's actually doing something, go to libertylegalfoundation.org, and you can actually make a small contribution and help keep these lawsuits proceeding. You have two lawsuits now regarding Barack Obama's eligibility. Is that correct, Van?
Yeah, one is in federal court and one is in state court. We hope to file 49 more state court cases, but for now we figured we wanted to hit federal court and one state court.
Oh, this is fantastic. And as you point out here on the website for Liberty Legal Foundation, the link to the page about no certification without verification, you point out that you are suing the Democrat Party. They are your defendant. And the reason that they are the target is they're the ones who have to vet their candidate and certify that he's constitutionally eligible. And they really didn't do that in 2008, did they?
No, and in fact, what happened was, as I was studying this, I mean, I'm kind of a newbie to this whole issue. For me, it's a constitutional issue, and we had a lot of members that kept saying, "Hey, this is a constitutional issue. If this isn't addressed, then what good does it do to address other constitutional issues? If the man who is sitting in the Oval Office is the person that's supposed to uphold and defend the Constitution, and he's not even qualified, then that's a serious constitutional problem."
Yeah, definitely. It absolutely is. It's absurd. I sent you, when I first contacted you, I sent you a link to an article I wrote for Illinois Review in December after we had the gentleman from the Western Legal Foundation on the program, and I'm like Rick Perry now. I'm having a brain freeze. I can't think of his name right now off the top of my head. But anyway, he came on. I wanted him to come on because they are also interested in this issue of eligibility. And this whole issue, as you know, as your litigation is directed at the fact that it's irrelevant where Barack Obama was born. It's not about, even though, as I pointed out a minute ago, he is claimed to have been born in two different hospitals in Honolulu.
Right.
And that's a little bit strange. But let's just assume, just for the sake of discussion, he's born there,
Let's be really careful here. It's not completely irrelevant, but what it is it's not critical to the primary argument we're making, which, as you know, is we simply want the courts to define natural-born citizen And we want the courts to follow what the Supreme Court said in 1875 about what natural-born citizen is. In 1875, the Supreme Court said a natural-born citizen is a person who's born here with both parents being citizens at the time of their birth. Well, Barack Obama has admitted, and the State Department has specifically said that his father was never a U.S. citizen, and in my mind, that means he can never be president regardless of where he was born.
See, that's what I say, and I sent you that article. Well, but the thing that I asked the guy from Western Legal Foundation about was the fact that there was some litigation last year that made it to the Supreme Court on this issue, and I think Obama was actually the named defendant. And Kagan, Justices Kagan and Sotomayor did not recuse themselves. Now, how does that happen?
Oh, yeah, it's ridiculous. And of course, you realize that the liberals are the ones that want Justice Thomas to recuse himself on Obamacare because his wife, has lobbied for, lobbied against Obamacare before it passed, and that's clearly something that, because of the actions of his wife, he has to recuse himself. But we have a defendant who actually put these people on the bench.
Yeah.
And of course, it's not even mentioned hardly in the mainstream media.
Oh my God, it's amazing how this particular issue is ignored, and not only is it ignored, as you, I'm sure, have experienced even more than I have. Anyone who attempts to bring up the question of the Article 2 definition of natural-born citizen is ridiculed, is mocked, is demonized, is characterized as somebody who needs to put on a tinfoil hat, and you're a birther, and it's nothing of the sort. I mean, you are a very serious litigator. You're qualified to go before the Supreme Court. You're a serious person. I'm a serious person. And to me, this question of Article 2 is a serious issue. And I really resent the way these liberals are, and I'm sure you've experienced it, have you not, them trying to marginalize you?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And in fact, we had a lot of serious conversations before we took this one on because Liberty Legal Foundation does have a very strong reputation, but we kept coming back to the fact that this is such a serious constitutional issue. We have got to take it on, and we're not going to let them scare us away from a legitimate issue just because they're going to try and marginalize us.
Yeah, because that's what they do. I mean, that's their playbook. That's Obama and Axelrod's playbook, and that's what I'm talking to you from Chicagoland, and this is what they did when he ran for Senate. They eliminate their opposition. They don't debate. They eliminate. That's what they do. Now, speaking of the Constitution, the other thing that is near and dear to my heart, and you really, great minds think alike, because not only do you think about this natural-born citizen thing the same way I do, you think about this Commerce Clause the same way I do. And let me, without being too inside baseball, we got the two lawyers talking here, but most of this audience here in the Teri O'Brien Show, and if you're just joining us, we're talking to Van Irion, who is the leader of the Liberty Legal Foundation, and definitely go to libertylegalfoundation.org and check out all the great things they're doing, and you'll find out, if you click on the link about Obamacare, you'll get an extensive discussion of something we've talked about here before, that the left has been using the Commerce Clause as this fig leaf, and they've just sort of tried to use this fig leaf of the Commerce Clause to expand federal power beyond what the founders, the founders, when they think about this, if they know what's going on, their corpses are spinning like you could cut meat on these corpses at this point. They're spinning because they're thinking, no, the Commerce Clause is not what we intended, but they use it to let the federal government into every area of life. And isn't that what they're using to justify Obamacare, Van?
Yes, indeed it is. And in fact, when I saw Obamacare come out and the individual mandate, what I saw was an opportunity to do what Liberty Legal is founded to do, which is, we had an entire century in the 20th century of the Supreme Court basically setting precedent that destroyed the Constitution. And the Commerce Clause, up until 1942, every Supreme Court clearly understood that what the Commerce Clause meant and didn't mean, and most of the presidents came before FDR knew what the Commerce Clause meant and didn't mean. It wasn't until FDR and his packed Supreme Court that they essentially threw the entire Constitution down the toilet. In the case of Wickard v. Filburn, in Wickard v. Filburn, they essentially took away all limits on congressional authority and allowed the federal government to start regulating without limitation. And as everyone listening can look back at 1942, that's about when the federal government started to grow like a cancer and take over every part of our lives. So we looked at Obamacare as an opportunity to not just attack Obamacare, but to try and turn back the clock by attacking the precedent that destroyed the Constitution and getting that case reversed. If we can do that, we can bring the Commerce Clause back to the definition that it was understood to have for the first 150 years, and about 80% of the federal government would be unconstitutional.
Oh, man, wouldn't that be awesome? I mean, obviously you're fighting an uphill battle, and that's why those of you who are listening, if you're just joining us, we're talking to Van Irion. And by the way, am I saying your last name correctly, Van?
Absolutely correct.
Oh, good. Of the Liberty Legal Foundation, libertylegalfoundation.org. And you can go there and join Liberty Legal and make a contribution. And, as I always say, it doesn't have to be, if you have $5, whatever, $10. I mean, that's, if everybody in this audience contribute a little bit, it would go a long way to helping you restore the Constitution. That's your overriding mission. Now, one last thing, if you have time, I want to ask you about your involvement in the issue of immigration, because that's another link you have here at your Liberty Legal Foundation website. What are you guys doing on the issue of immigration?
Well, immigration is another example where the Obama administration has completely not just ignored federal law. Understand the executive branch's job is to enforce federal law, and rather than doing that, they have gone completely in the other direction. The U.S. versus Arizona case, it set precedent just by filing it, because what they're doing there is existing federal law on immigration that previous Congresses passed that said the federal government shall not refuse to give information about individuals to local law enforcement when they request it. In other words, federal law says you absolutely must give this information if they ask for it. Okay, so the U.S.-Arizona case was a situation where they weren't simply going in and saying, oh no, you can't do that because we're already doing it. They were actually going in and saying, we're going to break federal law and ask a court to bless it, and that's exactly what happened. So we tried to intervene. We filed a motion for intervention, and of course they said we didn't have standing. We're still pursuing that via other avenues, but that one has been difficult at best because they always come up with some excuse for not addressing the substance of what you're bringing to the table.
Yeah, it's stunning, the lawlessness of this administration, Van. I mean, that's the thing, the overriding thing. I guess when it starts out with an illegal person in the office, which I agree with you, and we hope the courts will agree with us that a natural-born citizen has to be born on American soil of two citizens. And this is why I get in arguments with people about Marco Rubio. Do you get in any of those arguments? Because I get in those arguments all the time that he's not eligible. What's your take on that?
I want the law enforced equally to everybody. We often say we're nonpartisan. We just want the Constitution followed. I don't actually know exactly. I have a lot of people ask me about Marco Rubio, and there's a couple of other candidates out there. All I always tell them is natural-born citizen is exactly what the Supreme Court said it was in 1875, and it has to be applied to everybody.
And the name of that case in 1875 was?
That was Minor v. Happersett.
Yeah, Minor v. Happersett. And that is the case that apparently, I get emails from people all the time that people are trying to scrub that case from the internet. I'm thinking to myself, well, they can't really, I mean, we all know. I don't know.
No, it's there. I understand that there was some incident with one company that keeps cases, but I don't know much about it.
Well, they can't scrub it. Yeah, it's there. What's the status of the litigation? Where is it going from here? I mean, we know you filed these two suits, one in federal court, one in state court. You're trying to get cases filed in all 50 states, and then where do we go from here?
Okay, well, the next step is we're going to be filing a motion for preliminary injunction in both courts. We're going to be filing an amended complaint. We're going to add a couple more plaintiffs, and we're going to add a couple of more allegations. So we're going to amend our complaint. As soon as we have our amended complaint drafted and our preliminary injunction together, we're going to refile those, serve the defendants, and hopefully by the end of the year we'll have heard back from the defendants.
Oh, boy, I'm so excited. Will you come back again and talk more about this issue on the Teri O'Brien Show?
I would absolutely love to.
Oh, gosh, I can't. I hope you will definitely be successful, but I commend you, regardless of the outcome of this particular case or these cases, I commend you and the Liberty Legal Foundation for your commitment to overturning flawed legal precedents and restoring our Constitution to the founders' original meaning. I can't thank you enough for that, and I encourage all members of this audience to support the Liberty Legal Foundation, and I thank our special guest, Van Irion, for coming on the program. And I'll stay in touch with you, and we'll have you come back.
Thanks, Teri.
Thanks. Have a great evening, Van.
You too.
Take care. Well, yeah, what a great thing. You guys definitely should check that out.